Hi everyone, producer Nick here. We have experienced some audio issues this week, which is the reason for the dip in the quality. This should hopefully be resolved by next week. So please enjoy the episode.
Hello and welcome, members of the Wonderverse. I'm Hannah.
And I'm producer Nick.
And welcome to the very first YouTube-ready episode of Into the Wonderverse, your number one source for all things Scarlet Witch and Friends. We've just finished watching No, we haven't.
No?
We've just finished watching Agatha All Along episodes 1 and 2. I literally don't know what he thinks yet. I haven't asked him at all. So let's get into it, and then the theme song music will play. So I literally haven't asked you yet, what did you think of Agatha All Along episodes 1 and 2? Like briefly.
So I liked being back in WandaVision mode.
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean by that is pure conspiracy, pure what's going on, pure questions, just, pointing out who is it, what's going on, basically that kind of thing. I kind of missed that.
I know, I've really missed, the minute the trailers aired and we started hearing this person's Mephisto, that person's Mephisto, yeah. I was like, oh, we're back, baby, we're back. And I feel myself going down the delusional route already. I have such theories about what everything means. And that first episode gave us, it was conspiracy theory fodder. Really, it was just complete, I think there's so many clues that will be in that first episode that are going to come back around later. 100%.
100%. So, I mean, spoiler-free thoughts for a minute before we go into... We'll do news and then we'll do spoilery.
Yes.
So there it's all segmented for you guys. So spoiler-free thoughts, Hannah, on 1 and 2.
I feel like the tone is perfect. I think that I saw a lot of people saying it was a slow start, but I actually didn't find the first episode slow at all. I think that the true crime angle, which is not a spoiler because it's in the trailer, very much was a great way to re-enter. Not to say this is dark for Agatha. This isn't Wanda's bright sitcom world. For Agatha, being trapped in this delusion is a dark, especially making it a Danish crime adaptation.
Yeah, so I've got The Killing and The Bridge, which were two Scandinavian crime shows that made
and then the Mayor of Easttown.
Mayor of Easttown is one of them. Got True Detective vibes as well. So that kind of HBO crime feel that you'd kind of get from the mid-2010s, 2000s, 2010s, that kind of era.
I absolutely loved the version of The Witch's Road Ballad that is the opening sequence song. It really gave me watching True Detective vibes, that opening little moment. I was this is giving Gillian Flynn, this is giving I really felt it set the tone in such a brilliant way of because obviously Wanda's our protagonist in WandaVision, and you're very much in her perspective, recentering how you feel about Westview. Even as a Wanda girly who's leave her alone, she did nothing wrong. Recentering Agatha's mindset about where she is, going into that gritty kind of true crime. This is a crime scene to her. Is I think such an interesting way to recenter the audience's perspective to sympathize more with Agatha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me, episode 1, I think I like it kind of like I said, we're back in WandaVision mode, so it's a case of what we paying tribute to, what are we referencing, and it's the True Detective crime mode. I like the stilted acting that Catherine Hahn was bringing, because it just immediately just screamed something is off and not quite right, but it wasn't stilted acting in the way that this is bad because it's just badly made. No, this is deliberately bad because something is not right, something is off. And I really, really appreciated
I've got to give props to the WandaVision supporting cast who came back, and obviously they were kind of picked for their comedic chops in WandaVision, who actually did, especially Norm's actor did such a good job in his scene of, I was someone should cast him in a gritty.
Yes.
I just think the acting is really so fluid. I think that Catherine Hahn moved effortlessly between the comedic bits and then she looked haggard in some of those scenes. She looked genuinely upset and distraught. And then moving on to episode 2, spoiler 3.
Yeah.
How did you find it?
Spoiler free for episode 2. It was kind of it's an introduction basically to what we're kind of gonna get. Set the stage for kind of what's to come. I don't want to go into spoilers because the best part of episode 2 is very spoilery, and I don't want to give that bit away because for me that's something I didn't know. About the show because I avoided all trailers and spots and promotional material.
Every piece of promotional possible, and then you've seen only I think the first trailer.
I literally just saw the first teaser and that's the first trailer, whatever that was, and that was kind of it.
Yeah.
So for me, like episode 2 came across as a complete, this is kind of what's going on, and yeah. I think for me to go proper into it, got notes.
Yeah, I also have notes. You see, it's like I have a cute little pink book, and then Nick has loose pieces of
I have paper that in a book that just falls out.
I didn't get the aesthetic note. Like I have a matching pen to this as well.
I mean, this is my aesthetic.
What your aesthetic is loose pieces.
The loose pieces of paper, yes.
Right. Okay. Well. We're gonna have to help you evolve into well, to be fair, this is all of Nick's merchandise. This is obviously mine. I brought it along, but Nick was very concerned about our set building and worked really hard. So if in the comments you could all be like, "Wow, Nick, you really built the ambiance," I think he would really appreciate that.
I've done a little bit, so I think as episodes will kind of go, I'm going to try and build it up a little bit more.
We're just going to get him into collecting Agatha. He's just going to become an Agatha stan. We can see the little Spider-Man. I particularly like the dinosaur, which is always biting.
So that is an original Jurassic Park toy from 1993. That was mine. That is mine, little toy. And you've got the Miles Morales, Spider-Man, and the Spider-Man obviously.
I'm so sorry if you're listening to the audio version of this. The set just.
Oh yeah.
We needed a round of applause.
We are totally in the audio visual format, so audio only listeners are not getting the full taste of it.
No, but I still love y'all. You've been here since day one. The person who's watching us on there's somebody who listens to the podcast exclusively on their smart TV.
I hope they're watching this on their smart TV now.
No, I don't know because they listen to the audio mode, and I looked because I have the full stats that I can break down.
We're spying on you.
It says that they're watching Apple Music of all things, but on their television. I guess they do it while they're cleaning or something.
That must be through an
Apple.
Apple.
But they have dedicatedly every single episode. I would kind of see one episode you'd put on your smart TV. Yeah. But thank you to the person that puts me on their smart TV. Hi, how are you?
Hello.
I do hope that you move to the YouTube format, but if you're still watching us on the smart TV without the visual format, you're a dedicated, you're a day oneer. They've been listening to me since I released the first episode. So whoever you are, smart TV watcher, we appreciate you.
Thank you. Did you want to do news before we go to spoilers?
I'm sorry, I'm going to look a little bit at my script just to make sure I get everything in. Well, we need to do Wonder Song of the Week.
What is Wonder Song of the Week?
Oh, are you excited to know?
100%.
It is You Don't Own Me. You don't own me. Because I feel like this is going into spoiler territory. The town of Westview needs to be more grateful to Wanda. They don't own her. She can do whatever she wants. She's a strong, independent witch. Also, I feel like this song is a female empowerment anthem. And this show, Agatha All Along, is such a female empowerment. And also you've got Patti LuPone. I feel like this is the kind of song that would be on the Agatha All Along playlist, and so I'm kind of playing into both there. If you want to suggest a song, you can suggest it in our YouTube comments, you can send us a text, or you can DM me on Instagram, or you could just harass Nick on social media, really stalk him, find out who he is, get into his life, message his family, all that stuff.
Yeah, I would really, really appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
I think he's going to edit that part. Maybe I'll...
No, I'll keep it in. This is all unfiltered, by the way.
You're not editing any of it?
No.
You are.
No.
No, yes.
No.
I saw you write down that you're going to edit it.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well,
we'll see.
What if I look off? What if you look off while we edit that? Or when do we get the bold glamour filter?
The bold glamour filter? I'm going to put on the Instagram filters, the Snapchat filters on me.
Bunny ears.
The cat eyes and...
Was it a dog that was
I don't know.
You never use Snapchat? Okay. What is going to come up at some point during this podcast is that Nick has the pop culture references of like not your dad, but like my dad. Like most of you are too young. That your dads are like what, like too? Would you say that? Like, did your taste like peak in the 80s?
No, I'm permanently stuck probably in 2005, 2006.
So you do know like about, but you don't know things like Hilary Duff's music career.
No.
Never watched Disney Channel. Never like.
No, I didn't have Sky growing up.
Yeah, neither did I.
I had Fox Kids. That's how old I am.
Well, wasn't that what Rishi Sunak said during the election, that Keir Starmer couldn't relate? No, he didn't have Sky.
Yeah, Rishi Sunak did not have Sky. Yeah, I am so old that I watched the X-Men 90s TV show on when it was coming out.
Nick's 34, so like ancient. Well, guess what, Nick? It's been a week jam-packed with merch announcements. I know you're like super excited for this.
I want to know what you're buying next.
Well, the thing is that a lot of the merch announcements are unfortunately at the moment US exclusives. What I will say to all of you who want Agatha All Along merch, we need to watch the show, we need to be tweeting about it, like make sure they know how engaged with this. Let them know. The thing is that Marvel wants to make money, and the reason that we're not getting as much merch right now, don't do that. The reason we're not getting as much merch right now is because of like the She-Hulk effect and, you know, the Marvels effect, things being left on shelves.
Secret Invasion, Eternals. I'm still finding Eternals merch out there. Whoever is not buying Eternals merch,
get on it.
Get on it.
Get buying the Eternals merch,
please.
Because we need more. Like every
definitely
Marvel shop
Eternals
you go
merch.
into, it's like, do you want some Eternals merch? Eternals mystery minis, anyone?
I mean, I like the Eternals, but
I
Chloe Zhao's a great director.
She is. It just needed to be a TV series, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. Anyway, back to the news. So the first piece of merch comes from Scentbird. You won't know who they are because they're a perfume company. So they're actually a perfume subscription service, but what they are offering us is a little sample of 5 different perfumes that are supposed to represent different members of the Coven and smell like them. But more excitingly, they have a little quiz on the website that you can do and find out which witch in the Coven you are. I'm Lilia Caudeau even.
Should I do it?
You should definitely do it and then tweet about
I will do it for next week.
Yeah, do it for next week and find out what Coven member you are, just so that you can come prepared.
Definitely, and then I'll buy the perfume.
Yeah. For Amelie.
100%.
Right. That's available to order right now. They ship all over the world, so get on it. Next up, we have the first of the Agatha All Along Disney Store merch, which I have been yapping on about. Unfortunately, it is not currently available in the UK, and they have no plans to bring it to the UK right now.
Isn't it out in Australia?
The ears are out in Australia and in Asia, and also in the parks. And then they have released the collection exclusively on the Disney website right now, but only to Disney Plus subscribers in America. So it includes a tumbler, a limited pin, a hoodie, 2 really cool t-shirts, one of which I want that says I survived Witch's Road and all I got was an existential crisis.
Yeah.
And one that says Witch Please. And then a tarot card hoodie, and the Cake Worthy shirt is back. I, like a crazy bitch, messaged Disney and I was like, hey, when is this coming to the UK? And they were like, there's no plans currently to bring it over. It releases generally in the US on the 26th of September, but I just think if Agatha is doing really well in the UK, there's absolutely no reason why they wouldn't bring the merch over here.
We can get into this a little bit later, but my worry about Agatha being popular in the UK is tied to this country's kind of attitudes towards Halloween, which we don't do Halloween over here.
I mean, we do now.
We do now, but not really. Not in the kind of way that
Have you been to B&M recently?
Have I been to B&M recently?
Mm-hmm.
I've been to the end of aisle in Tesco's where they have the Halloween candy out, Halloween sweets out.
It's massive in TK Maxx and stuff now.
I think so. Agatha All Along, I really do want it to do well. There is a market out there for witches stuff in the UK. I mean, my generation, it was very much Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I used to watch Bewitched on Channel 4 in the mornings, right after episodes of Frasier. That's how old I am.
How old were you when you were watching Frasier?
I mean, I was a teenager. I'm a big fan of Frasier. That's depressing, I I had loads of friends as a kid.
It's like Emily watching Charmed as like a 12-year-old and being like, yes, these housewives.
So yeah, and so my thing on Agatha Wallon being popular in the UK, I think there is definitely a market out there for it, and I just hope that it really does reach that market and really does reach the kind of people that are after it.
Joe, I know that you've not seen Heartstopper, but I think him being in it, it's kind of become a very popular with UK teens. I work in a library and all they do is come in and borrow Heartstopper.
Okay.
So I think that it's genius putting him in that role. I know a lot of people didn't want him for this role because of his Heartstopper reputation, but I actually think the marketing for it is really smart, because I think that they are using women of an older age group, which is great. We are using women in their 40s and 50s, which as they should, but I think that having Joe in the cast, who's such a present face with young people, is a genius move for the twinks and the girls.
Yeah.
Another interesting piece of news is that we're getting our very first Agatha Funkos. So we're getting an Agatha full-size Funko and then a little keychain. They are not releasing till December. I really feel like they've dropped the ball on.
I mean, they say they seem to be released in not till December, you say?
Mm-hmm.
Well, little thing I've been noticing is that they have been kind of releasing little Funkos in stores before they're actually been released on the Funko website.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I follow certain kind of subreddits, one of them being the Bob's Burgers subreddit. There's an action figures subreddit that I follow, Spider-Gwen subreddit, all that kind of stuff. And I have a little itty-bitty Bob Belcher for the burger thing. That I found in a Forbidden Planet, and it's not actually meant to be out on Funko. Well, as of recording, it wasn't really meant to be out. There was a Spider-Gwen Funko that was found in a Hot Topic in America, and that's not shipping until the end of October.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it with the action figures ones where you never know. So we say it's not officially been released in December, but who knows? Maybe Funko are just releasing these things.
They're now judging by pre-orders how much of something to make. Because obviously we know, about the incident where they found a bunch of Funko Pops in a landfill.
It's the E.T. and Atari effect.
Mm-hmm.
Ask your parents.
So I think that they're now judging by pre-orders how many of each Funko, which is smarter. In an eco way, good. We want less waste in general. But it's annoying that they wouldn't at least have the main Agatha Funko ready to go for. I know why we've been told we'll get at least 2 more Funkos from this. I imagine that will be the teen character and then Aubrey Plaza's character.
Mm-hmm.
But we're keeping their backstory so secret that I think that they're not putting out the boxes until.
We don't want action figures giving away spoilers.
And then I think they're judging how popular the other Coven members are going to be before we get a lot of merch for them.
So if you want something, ask for it. Basically, just ask for it.
The way that all the tweets I've seen have been about Mrs. Hart, I feel like she's going to end up being, Jimmy Woo was such a standout in WandaVision. I feel like Mrs. Hart is on her way to being a breakout character.
I just want to see Anya, Sunnydale's favourite rabbit-hating demon, be featured again. Again, if you don't know who that is, ask your mum.
He means Dottie, as in Emma Caulfield.
Emma Caulfield.
I love her so much.
Yes.
There was so many fears when WandaVision was coming out that she was going to be announced as a witch.
Because of who she is. It's Emma Caulfield. It's Anya from Buffy. And
I still think she might be, and I'll get into why in my list of little things. We'll just get through the last of the news, which is our final piece of Agatha merch for the week is that Girls Crew have brand new Agatha jewelry out. It's a very subtle jewelry. It's sold in her universe, and then also it usually comes to Hot Topic. It unfortunately doesn't ship to the UK because of licensing reasons, but it's super subtle. So if you want jewelry that's a little bit less gaudy, a little bit more for everyday, that's kind of what it is. Same as her universe products. And then if you're hankering for some Wanda merch, don't worry, I've got you there. This is something that I'm obsessed with. Pear Eyewear have Wanda frames. They have a bunch of marble frames.
I saw your TikTok about that.
They've got a bunch of. They have Spider-Man frames as well.
I mean, I literally just have new glasses. These are new glasses, first pair in 7 years.
See, these are $3.99. And I have 5 pairs of them. And the frames are like £30 each as well, so it's just the lenses you have to pay for. And you can get like a magnet so you can clip different frames on there, which I'm like so obsessed with. I know you're so mad right now because you've just got new new glasses. So yeah, they're only £30 for the frames. Obviously you have to pay for your prescription, which you know, if you know, like it's expensive to pay for a new prescription.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm definitely picking up the Wanda frames because why wouldn't I do that? Then the other mini merch announcement is that David Nakamura. It's not. Can you edit that to be the right pronunciation?
David Nakamura?
It's not. It's not David.
Go on
then. David Nakayama?
Nakayama?
No. Okay, I'm going to do that one more time.
Sure.
The other mini merch announcement for Miss Maximoff is that David Nakayama pins will be featured at NYC Comic Con. They are not known if it's going to be widely available yet. They're little blind boxes. They feature different versions of his like famous comic covers as like a little pin. Hopefully that will be available elsewhere because his designs are so stunning. And we never get cool Marvel women pins. They're always like 800 Deadpool variants in a pin.
I mean,
but
you've got to have the Deadpool variants.
Yeah. That's just what a man would say.
I'm being sarcastic here. I just want to clarify.
I know, I'm just teasing. So yeah, that's all the news for this week. Oh, except obviously that Elizabeth Olsen kind of said she's coming. Well, she said she wants to come back on Jimmy Kimmel. First off, she made everybody mad by saying that she's more powerful than Thor. Then she said that she would like to come back and she would like to find a way not to be dead, and they have to get the smartest writers to do it. She hates Michael Waldron. She does. Come on now. That was such a pointed.
Yeah.
Are you coming out as a Michael Waldron?
No, I'm just staying out of these Marvel politic games.
Oh, Nick is apolitical about Marvel.
I want to work for Marvel one day, so I'm staying out of all these politics.
I think that it's important to be authentic. I have integrity.
I don't have integrity. I will sell out immediately.
Well, Nick wants to work in the film industry, if you don't know about Nick. Whereas I know that I am just a yapper. And that is my job in life, is to yap. And that's what this is. So.
Shall we yap into spoiler?
Yeah, spoiler territory.
Spoiler territory. Hooray!
Agatha Harkness. You've been under the influence of another.
We are now heading into spoiler territory, so if you have not seen the episode 1 and 2 of Agatha All Along, stop and come back. Come back another time. We love you. We'll see you soon. Come back. But like, okay. So we have our little notes, so we will be occasionally glancing at them, but I promise it's just about the episode. It's not secrets. Okay, do you wanna get into your first notes?
My first theory is that it's Mephisto.
Obviously, I mean, would it be a project?
Yeah. So first question. Mm-hmm. Andrew Ugo. That's an anagram.
It's for Wendigo.
Wendigo.
And obviously it's the Darkhold is obviously the book title. I want to go actually back right to Agatha walks to the crime scene.
Yep.
And the very first little reference we get there is obviously she says, "Hey neighbor," which like is her line from that. And I wonder if her punching a suspect is going to come up as something that she did in Westview later, because now that we know that whole thing was being enacted in her like house, like she was not going outside, I wonder if we're going to get a WandaVision style flashback episode where we see what was really going on while she was having this delusion.
I mean, it is quite funny that we see the reveal of her car. And
that is one of my favourite reveals from the whole
It's a good bit.
Episode. But when she so confidently put her feet on those cereal boxes, I was like, queen.
Yeah.
Utterly. Obviously, we got the reference to how Wanda potentially passed away. But she does wink when she says, "You never know." When he says, "She's very dead," and Agatha says, "You never know," and then she winks.
Yes.
Which, obviously, I think means Wanda's alive.
Sure.
And I think that the body is a manifestation of Wanda's spell.
Yep.
Rather than Wanda herself. And I think that when she said it's like she magically appeared, I do think that perhaps Wanda is asking for Agatha's help. I do maybe because obviously at the end of WandaVision, Agatha said, "You're going to need me," and then Wanda said, "If I do, I know where to find you."
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that Agatha starts to get itchy. Obviously, throughout the episode, she's tugging at her clothes, but she starts to get itchy as soon as she sees the body.
Yeah, so I've got down that she's dressed like Kate Winslet in Way of Easttown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the very kind of like haggard is the wrong word, tired, overworked, just that kind of female protagonist that's very straight talking and because it's a Marvel show, you can't really show her swigging a bottle of whiskey and drinking 7,000 cigarettes, but like.
They were drinking beers. They were allowed to have beers.
They're allowed to have beers, but like it's not, she can't be Matthew McConaughey in True Detective, or Amy Adams in Sharp Objects. Like, it's.
But it was very much
that vibe.
They were giving the vibe without doing it, and obviously also I feel like that also carries over from Wanda's kind of sanitized version of Westview from WandaVision. Because she's still under Wanda's spell, her specifically. I think it's so interesting that obviously they're so sympathetic to her because they think that she just didn't get out from under Wanda's spell. Obviously, we know that she individually cursed Agatha to be in this, but they obviously just think that Agnes never came out from the spell, which was what makes them so sympathetic towards her and so willing to overlook anything, which is so human and so kind of like heartwarming, really.
Think about the residents of Westview. Westview is photographed. The set design for Westview looks a lot brighter and more. Looks like it's kind of recovered from the. I mean, even before Wanda did her antics, like. Westview was not. It was really run down. It was a town that wasn't doing great.
I wonder if they got a government payout.
Yeah, maybe they did. Maybe after all the faffing around that, what's his face did.
Jimmy Woo. Oh no, Hayward.
Hayward,
right.
After all those shenanigans, maybe they kind of stepped in and was like, "No, we need to do something for this town, these residents."
Shut them up.
Yeah, because it looks a lot better than it did. And it has been 3 years since the events of WandaVision, so I suppose that in that time there is some kind of restoration of the town, really.
In Agatha's office, I noticed that her lamp on her desk is the same as the one that then later appears. Obviously, there's a bunch different. Also, her plant and a little bunny, the photo turns into a photo of what I imagine is her son. And I also noticed on her computer, she's got the case file up, but behind it there is some sort of medical report saying that somebody was detained against their will. I wonder if Agatha got put on mental health hold because she was going nuts, possibly, was a theory that I had.
There's lots of threes popping up.
Well, mother.
Yeah, so there's lots of threes popping up. The clock, there are two different instances of the clock in two different rooms, 2 different times a day, both reading 3:33. Mm-hmm. That's a reference, got to be a reference to something. Which related, I'd imagine, probably somebody a bit more smarter than I am.
Well, I think it's the Maiden Mother.
You think it's to do with Maiden Mother?
Well, obviously that's her necklace. And also the Witch's Road song comes in threes. Mm-hmm. So I think, also all the references to rabbits everywhere. Obviously, because Agatha, we had Senior Scratchy in. So do you think Agatha? We got reference to child sacrifice. We got reference. Do you think Agatha exchanged her son for the Darkhold?
So this is a bit of information that was new to me, and basically when we recorded the last episode, I think it's definitely there. Like there was a whole reference to the child sacrifice, and the shots of Nicholas's bedroom, kind of does indicate that yes, that is definitely the case, and.
There's also a child's drawing on the fridge in her, but that stayed even after the spell broke. That at first I wanted to zoom in on that drawing on the fridge at first because I thought it might be Wanda's sigil from the Darkhold. That was my first theory, but when I zoomed in a bit closer, it's just a child's drawing of a woman. Mm-hmm. This is my crackpot theory, right? This goes to
Hannah's crackpot theory.
To Rio's I think that Rio is death. She's the death card in the tarot deck. We know that. But I think that Agatha says, you're not allowed to kill me. But she's like, I can wait. And I think that she says, do you remember why you hate me? I think that Rio took Nikki, as in I think he died and she took him. That's why Agatha hates her. But I think that everybody thinks that Agatha sacrificed Nikki, but she actually didn't. And I think that Rio, because Death is a physical entity in the Marvel comics, and she dated Thanos.
Yes.
So I think that possibly Rio is like life itself, or like Lady like Mother. She's a green witch, but she is specifically says she's not allowed to kill. That, or the rule is just that witches can't kill other witches. But I don't think that's true based on context cues. But that's kind of my crackpot theory about what I think Aubrey Plaza's character might be all about, because she's implied that she's a really significant character, and the theories have been that she is Doctor Doom's mother, or she's Mephisto, or she's...
You don't cast Aubrey Plaza in a small role.
Well, yeah, or a made-up role, because Rio Vidal does not exist in the comics. We were told that she was partially based off the Emerald Warlock from the Scarlet Witch run, but that's such a bit part. So
Screams John Harrison in Star Trek Into Darkness, really, doesn't it?
I don't get that reference.
Don't know, he's Khan.
Right.
Benedict Cumberbatch is Khan.
Oh, right. Well, if you just said Benedict Cumberbatch,
Well, his name in the promotional material, very much what the cast and crew was saying was like, no, his name's John Harrison, except the fact everybody knew it was Khan. So that's the thing. You don't cast Benedict Cumberbatch as an unknown character named John Harrison. You cast him as Khan. You don't cast Aubrey Plaza as an unknown character or a made up character. You cast her as somebody important.
And she keeps saying, "I'll be seeing you" in Spanish, and like you always see Death. Like I'll always be there at your end, because she's not. I just think that she. I think that there's something there. Obviously, the obvious guess is that Agatha traded her son for the Darkhold.
Yes.
But in the trailers, I know you've not seen it, he says, "Why do you let everybody think those terrible things about..." Joe Locke's character says, "Why do you let everybody think those terrible things about you?" And she says, "Because the truth is too terrible." Obviously, Agatha cries so much in these first 2 episodes. She's crying a lot. And in the comics, she loved her son. And the Salem 7 are her grandchildren in the comics. But Nicholas Scratch was not a good dude. So maybe he was trying to kill everybody, and she had to
possibly
get rid of him because he was like the Omen child, maybe.
There were some interesting visuals that I wanted to kind of pick up on in episode 1, just in terms of like visually speaking. So there's the scene where she's drinking beer with Aubrey Plaza's character, and the lamp that's right next to her, the lampshade, very much has branches kind of covering the lampshade, and it's very much like vines and branches kind of covering and almost infecting the light almost. So something is not, it's very, very spooky vibes, and like you said, it's the signification that it's, something's dark is coming. There's the reference where she calls Joe Locke's teen Edward Scissorhands. Edward Scissorhands very much was an outcast in suburbia paradise. If you've not seen Edward Scissorhands, it's pretty good. It's one of the good Tim Burton ones. And then kind of the thing that I've kind of got is her transformation sequence where she's kind of flipping through all of her outfits from WandaVision and all those stages and those eras. It's filmed and shot like a transformation in a werewolf movie. That kind of like pained transformation in the sense of awakening. And the thing about a werewolf is, you're transforming into something you don't really want to go into. It's a curse, whereas this is the other way around. Like the transformation is from a curse.
I loved how well, when she turned into her 50s self, she was acting like she did in the 50s episode. It just shows what an amazing performer Catherine Hahn is, because every movement was committed to the Agnes from the 50s episode movements. I just wanted to go back, before her transformation sequence, we got the reference to the car wreck in Eastview.
I had that down as well.
And also the bloodstain in the back seat is such a specific set of... and we know that Billy's from... Well, sorry, I said Billy. I mean the teen is from Eastview. And I think that will become significant later on.
So there was in the credit sequence, his name, Joe Locke's name, pops up of the newspaper article that says near death in Westview. Again, can't be a coincidence.
Well, see, in the comics, if you're not aware, Billy is implanted into... His soul is implanted into the body of a teen We also got reference to the fact that Billy's mother is dead. Oh, but sorry, I keep saying Billy. The teen's mother. I feel like the child in the man.
You're gonna be so mad if he's not Billy.
I mean, look, if he's not Billy, you can all club me to death with sticks or whatever. Burn me at the stake, maybe.
Do that.
Yeah, burn me at the stake. But yeah, like I think that car wreck is significant to him, and is possibly when Billy's soul got put inside this body.
Mm-hmm.
Also, do you remember pain was very interesting. Are people that have the Darkhold not able to feel pain? You can't kill me, it's not allowed. Yeah, those parts were very just very interesting lore that I feel like it's worth remembering. I feel like a lot of these lines that seem very throwaway will be important, like Easter eggs for later.
There's some interesting visuals and just in general with the set dressing of her house. Very much there's Agatha's talking, and behind her is a glass case with butterflies.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, this isn't accidental. This is all intentional. There's all the meaning behind it. Whether it's a meaning that's anything significant to the show, it's not necessarily true. It's all like a thematic kind of given an idea and given a vibe. Very much. Did you want to go into the fight sequence a little bit?
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting that Agatha is obviously like trained in combat to some degree. Like she was like, we saw her very much able to hold her own against Rio. It was very much a two-person fight. I thought the fight scene was very well choreographed.
Very, very well choreographed.
It did not look clunky.
Nope.
And I think that
didn't take place in the hallway.
No, it did not. It was, and like I've got to say, I think it's one of the best fight sequences since Black Widow and Winter Soldier in terms of like being very visceral. When she hits the ground, you're like, ooh, that's gonna hurt. And I do think that I'm going to praise this show now, and I think I'll continue to do so. The lack of CGI in these first episodes is just very noticeable. Nothing's been reshot in a green room somewhere.
Do you think there's a reaction against the criticism of the finale of WandaVision, do you think? Where it was very much one of the criticisms of the ending was that, it kind of devolved into this CGI battle, as it were. As Marvel kind of projects do.
I think it was more, that, but also a reaction to the positive reaction to the use of practical. Because there was so much talk of how much people liked the Bewitched actions. And I think that Jack Schreiber is very much a person that likes to work with that. And the people they've hired, I think that the new Marvel television format really allowed for a showrunner to make a decision like that, where they're like, because I was watching videos of them walking onto the set of Witches Road, and it's a set you want to visit. Like, I think that what people have underestimated in the modern era is, what my reservations about Harry Potter now aside, when you go on the tour, like I did, of those sets and how much they actually built and how they felt like sets, if you made that now, so much of that would not have been. It
would be shot in the volume. Mm-hmm. Would you all like to visit the set for Mandalorian? Okay, we'll step inside this computer.
I do think that building a visual world that your actors are in,
yes,
where their eye lines are properly correct, just gives, when you see Agatha touching the stone at the end, and I saw the video behind the scenes of Catherine Hahn walking the Witches Road, and all they've done is, wow, also how bright this show is comparison with some of the blooming, you can see everything that's happening, which is lovely. I am nervous that because we're going onto the road that everything's going to be very dark all of a sudden. But again, it's a real set, so
practical lighting is always the best.
And I was looking at that footage of Catherine Hahn walking down that staircase into Witches Road and thinking, I can see people building this for their, I feel this, I feel like it's a real place that you can go. And I think the tangible nature of this witchcraft, the way they've tied it into the modern expectations of what witchiness is, of the wellnessy magic that Jennifer Cale is experimenting with, and then you've got the kind of fake divination, which is such a trope, obviously, but I do think that they did a really good job of grounding it. You can believe these people exist. I think the least grounded right now is Alice Wu, but we haven't learned
Yeah.
a lot about her yet. Everybody else, like, I was worried the teen was going to be written poorly, but I actually have loved him the whole time. His lines are not cringy.
No. And very, very clever use of visuals and film language, and film language in particular, to basically hide his identity and have Agatha be on our wavelength as well. So, like, you know, we see him speaking, but it's, you know, when he says his name, but it's written out. And then there's the scene in the car where, like, he's talking about himself.
I'm going to need a professional lip reader to get on what it is that he's saying for me.
And the audio just completely goes into, like, it's, you know, like you have tinnitus. And it's very interesting them using the film language to basically do that, rather than, like...
Lots of the sigil works the one time,
yeah.
But I'm glad we were not just getting, like, a continuous of the sigil. I feel like there's a lot of self-restraint used in this show in terms of the way that things are constructed.
It's also very pointed to the fact that Catherine Hahn is giving that performance, that she is very, very aware that there is a secret going on, something strange going on. It's not like, you know, she probably knows kind of what's going on with his character, but she's really able to play that off very, very well. And it's very interesting in terms of the show and in terms of how it's speaking the conversations and stuff, and whenever it talks about, you know, all the other witches talking, asking who he is and that kind of thing, like, she's very much like, no, this is purely for me. Like, I'm not letting him, you know, give anything away, because I think she knows the power of what's potentially there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that maybe she thinks that they will be able to hear it, and she doesn't want to be the only one out, because she knows that nobody would give her that information willingly. I think that obviously the scene with Lilia, I think, will become very significant later on. Lilia, I love the performance that is being given. She is the member of the Coven I am most nervous about because of where her character comes from in the comics.
Do you want to give a bit of...
So, in the comics... So, this comic was written in the 70s. So, her character is described as the Queen of the Gisler.
Excellent.
So she meets Stephen. No. Yeah. She's a fortune teller, obviously. She can disguise herself as a crone.
Yeah.
In order to seem more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And her coven used to be in possession of an important magical text that contained much mystical knowledge, including passages of the Darkhold.
Okay.
She is seduced by one of Mordu's relatives.
Yeah.
And he steals the book and assaults her, and then leaves her, and so she hates all magicians after that, which obviously... But she was involved with a young Wanda Maximoff because her coven could summon the Crown of Serpents, and they take the young Wanda Maximoff into the castle, and they want to train her because they know she's going to be powerful. But they get into, like, a battle over her because a different set of wizards want to train her to be the powers of Set, so on and so forth. But the Chthon appears and says Wanda should belong to no coven and be trained by no people. She must be allowed to develop alone. And everyone's like, yeah, sure, like, you can decide, dude. And then basically Lilia meets up with Doctor Strange again and enslaves him magically because she hates all magicians. And then they go to Mordu's castle to try and steal back her book, which is obviously so significant. She dies, and Strange takes the book away because it has passages of the Darkhold in it. I'm nervous because her entire character in the comics is kind of based on the fact that she's Romani, and, like, that's the entire point of the character. I'm just not sure why they would choose that character, and I don't know how they're going to translate that story because it's so integral to the plot of her character and the customs that she's in. And I know they're making her Sicilian but, like, I just don't know. I feel like there's a bunch of different fortune tellers they could have picked to fulfill this role, and I guess that the significance is going to be that she was at some point in possession of passages of the Darkhold, and because it's not a Darkhold itself, perhaps that book hasn't been destroyed, because Wanda destroyed all the Darkholds, But does that include books that only included passages from the Darkhold? Question mark. And obviously her connection with Wanda and Chthon. All of the members of the Coven are specifically picked. They have a connection with Wanda. Whereas Agatha's had a bunch of different covens in the comics, and they did not pick characters that are traditionally associated with Agatha. They have so far only picked witches. Like, Alice was introduced in a Wanda comic. Jennifer has most recently been seen with Wanda. Her and Agatha have not really met. And then Lilia, is a Doctor Strange / Scarlet Witch character. So I just think it's very interesting that they've picked a coven of witches who are connected with Wanda. What does it mean?
What does it mean?
It means Wanda's coming back.
It means she's coming back. For those on the podcast, Hannah just did a little dance.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is all pointing towards. I think it's very, very pointed that in all the promotional material, very much in interviews and stuff, it's very much leaning towards like this is part of one of 3 shows: WandaVision, Agatha or Long Vision Quest, and then with the potential of the Scarlet Witch movie potentially happening.
Thumbs up for those listening on the audio.
Thumbs up from Hannah. I think it is pointing towards this being like a resurrection show for her.
I think it's very interesting that there seems to be different interpretation of what the road gives you, and that there's one part where they say it gives you what you need the most, and obviously the teen thinks he needs power, but I think it's going to give him Wanda. I think that is what it's going to like. I think that Agatha's going to get Nicholas Scratch back, potentially. I think that they think, obviously the road is this mystical thing. It's very much not what it is in the comics. So we really have no idea what this version of the road is going to look like, because it's not accurate to the comics, like, at all. It seems that the Witch's Road is a fancy version of the Yellow Brick Road in
I mean, I caught a couple of Wizard of Oz references in it. I mean, like, they take all the shoes off at the end, and the way the shoes are kind of framed are very much how the witch's boots are at the start, Wizard of Oz.
And then also, obviously, we got the reference that Agatha's been betrayed by Witchkind before. And that's another reference, I think, to Rio having something to do with it. Or, obviously, her old coven did try to kill her, but I don't know if that counts. I feel like that's not... I don't think she saw that as much of a betrayal, personally.
I'm summoning a coven to walk the witch's road.
So, the eagle-eyed viewers and the listeners will soon find out, Hannah has a toy.
It's not a toy, it's a very important musical instrument, actually.
So, can you introduce us to what you have and why you have it?
So I have a glockenspiel. It's for a very important new segment that I'm starting. I think you're really going to like the segment. Are you ready?
I'll bring it on.
2, 3, 4. It's one to watch.
It's one to watch.
It's one to watch. It's time to talk about whether or not
it's one to watch.
Every week we're going to talk about... Hang on. It's really heavy, so... We're going to talk about whether or not Wanda was mentioned on this episode.
And was she mentioned?
Yeah, lots. It was really good, wasn't it? Did you like that part? I did. I really liked that part when she was mentioned. I got really excited when she was mentioned. She was mentioned like a lot.
She was mentioned a lot.
But they're not supposed to say her name, but they did. A lot. So I counted quite a few times that they mentioned her. But my favourite was probably when Agatha called them cowards for not wanting to say her name.
My favourite was the toe tag.
It wasn't a toe tag, it was a library card. She's not dead.
Yeah.
I think that one of the best details was the heartbreaking graffiti on that foundation. But some rebel obviously painted her sigil on the foundation because somebody crossed it out afterwards, because there's no way somebody painted it that well just to then put a cross through it. So it was Evil Witch, which, so rude, she gave you all jobs. I would be enslaved, I would do it.
We know that. We know that. They know it.
They would all do it too.
They probably would.
Yeah, I know what you're yapping about. And then Get Out was written in white spray paint, and then some rebel had gone along and painted her sigil. Very well done, good art. And then that had been crossed out.
Yeah.
How dare they? First of all,
how dare they?
Obviously, I did not know Elizabeth Olsen was 5'7". Thought she was shorter than that, to be honest. I don't think she is 5'7".
That sounds about right, I think.
I know Wanda's 5'7" in the comics, exactly.
Okay, so maybe, yeah.
In her late 20s as well, very generous.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, she was mentioned like a ton. Obviously, you can break a spell from the Scarlet Witch is a pretty, they obviously shown as a feat, which is good. Yeah, she's obviously going to be a presence.
Where's that shot for the trailer then?
What shot?
There's the shot in the teaser that I saw where they uncover the cloak and we see her face. There was never that teaser? Did I dream that?
I think you dreamed that one.
I dreamed that
Do you not think I would have been a little bit more like... They very deliberately didn't show us her face. It was a very obvious...
I must have dreamed that.
But I'm infecting you. that is a me moment that is infected.
It's embarrassing.
Who are you?
I'm
Interesting.
Final thoughts?
This is like our third time filming this, by the way. If we seem like we're done, it's not because we don't love y'all, it's because I don't remember what I want to say anymore. But basically I loved it. I think there's so much room for the show to grow, for new bits and pieces to come together. I think that all of the characters have an excellent story left to tell. And I do feel like this show has made questions for itself to answer. People were like, what's the show going to be about? Who asked for this? And then the show created a bunch of questions that I now want answered, if that makes sense. It has justified its own existence.
That was one of the questions when it was announced, was like, why does it, like a lot of things with Marvel shows, why is this a thing?
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that it's justified why it exists. That's a good
Well, I feel like we're actually setting, because obviously we got our introduction to like witchcraft through WandaVision,
yeah.
And then obviously Doctor Strange has kind of gone into the mystical arts, but I feel like this has set we're setting the rules, we're like actually world building, like there are witches, they're a normalized thing, like the Coven's dead rule. I feel like it's starting to actually, we know that Jack Schaefer has been kind of selected to deal with the magical element of the MCU, and I feel like she's done an amazing job of being like, well, like, okay, then I'm going to give you the rules. I feel like, again, I do think the new format of Marvel television, whereby having a show Bible, setting rules, the showrunner getting to decide the tone of the show, because this doesn't, if you saw this project, you wouldn't necessarily pick it out as like, this is an MCU project, it's not following the like rules of an MCU project. It's way more kind of tonally like Charmed, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina comes to mind, like definitely kind of, it's in its own genre. My biggest crackpot theory is that we know there's going to be a huge tone change at some point. We've heard that like the first 4 episodes have only been exhibited to reviewers so far, and the cast said they're most excited for us to see episodes 6 and 7. So I think like WandaVision, I think the car wreck in Eastview will become incredibly important, and that maybe we'll get a whole episode based around Billy and possibly a Salem episode, which I think would be so interesting, because so many of all these characters are quite ancient. They've made them all 100-year-old witches. I do think it'd be interesting to look up on their history and like really delve into that. And like look at some of the history of magical items within the MCU. Who had the Darkhold before Agatha? Like so on and so forth.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had it.
Ghost Rider had it.
Ghost Rider had it.
But I think we're going to say that Agatha, I think we're decanonizing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think hard, which I think is the right move. I love seasons 1 and 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but like their reliance on the Inhumans has made them kind of we're not going to get into that this episode, so this is already too long. Another time.
I keep opening cans of worms.
Yeah, that's such a can of worms.
That's such a can of worms. The show does justify its existence, and that was one of my fears going in. I said this on the podcast episode last week that I would love to see the show kind of go into the pop culture idea of what witches look like, and it very much feels like there are references going in there, and the end credit sequence, which is a very, very good end credit sequence, does definitely show that. Billy's Wiccan.
Yes, Billy's Wiccan. You mean the teen is Billy, who is Wiccan?
The teen is Billy, who is Wiccan.
And I love them all dearly, and I'm so afraid that Mrs. Hart is going to pass away next episode.
Is that based on?
It's based on the fact that she's not in a lot of the promotional material or my other, very briefly, my theory is that when you pass a trial, you get kicked out of Witches Road.
Right.
Or if you fail your trial, because there's also a clip of Jennifer clawing her way out of the mud. And I wonder if when she passes her trial and gets unbound, she'll just leave Witches Road.
Yeah.
But we'll see if that's true. And there's a clip of them all standing, there's like a hole in the road, and Sharon has gone, I think she's gone through. Or Sharon is just Rio in disguise, is my other theory.
That could be a shout.
But I hope not, because I love her.
Good, yeah.
I want the Westview Mysteries, which is just Mrs. Hart going around.
Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah, Miss Marple. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. If you cannot wait to hear more from me, you can find me over on TikTok at Into the Wandaverse, or Instagram at The Wandaverse, and on Threads and Twitter now. I'm everywhere. I'm in your walls.
You can find me on X, I suppose, Nick S. Chandler. I am on Letterboxd under the Film Nick, which is also my TikTok handle.
Which he still hasn't posted
Which
on.
I still haven't posted on, but it'll get to that at some point.
He's got a banging story to tell you, so tune in.
I do, yeah, we'll get to that. And you can find more of my writing on film, and I also wrote a lot of pieces, an essay on Marvel and the multiverse related to Spider-Man, which is semi-relevant to kind of how Marvel is nowadays, and that's all on my website, which is superatomovision.com. That will be in the link, hopefully.
Music by the wonderful Melody Ray Griffiths. Artwork by my beloved Lily, who you should check out. All of her links.
Thank you for the YouTube art.
That's Larry.
That's Larry.
Larry.
Got that completely
Thank
wrong.
you, Larry, also. And we'll see you next time. And remember to stay magical. Goodbye.